Welcome to Tarik Talk, a podcast exploring art, culture, and the stories that shape creative lives. I'm your host, Tarik Mendes, and each episode I sit down with artists and creative thinkers to talk about process, inspiration, and the moments that shape who we become. Thanks for being here. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm joined by artist Niko Abramidis, and we're recording this conversation from his art studio here in Berlin, Germany. In this episode, we talk about his creative process, his artistic background, the ideas that shape his work, and how his practice has evolved over time.
Well, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you so much for letting me be in your amazing studio. Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Niko Abramidis, and my artist name also has an N and an E attached to it. So it's NA and NE, which is kind of an entity that I formed so that people know that I'm not a private person, but I'm also like a corporation. I like to think of myself sometimes that I'm a small corporation that sometimes follows the orders of the CEO. That is also me. So I'm kind of collaborating with myself in this entity. But it makes me more efficient somehow. It makes me otherwise it's difficult to work on several kinds of series at the same time. So it gives a certain structure and helps me to get things sorted and to work on complex stuff, because sometimes I work on more than one material. So I formed several departments, and one department, for example, only works on those embroidery works that you can see here, and the other department works on those metal works, the cryptic machines, I call them. So I structure myself this way. So 1 week I only work on this work, and the next week maybe on the other works. So that helps me. And also I find it quite fascinating that as an artist, when I work in this corporation kind of that I created, I feel that I'm in the same level as like other big corporations that form a big part of our life. Because for me, art is the most important thing, and not like products by corporation, but products by artists. So it gives a certain balance between those worlds.
That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. Did you always know you wanted to be an artist as a child?
No, I always had drawing books, and as far as I can remember, I always did drawings, and that's also to the present day. I still work a lot with drawing books. But when I finished school, I studied for 1 year architecture, because it was like the next thing to drawing. I thought that's something, but that was not free enough, kind of. And in Munich, where I began studying, the good thing is that all the universities are close by, so you can just walk from one university to the other. So I also went to a lot of philosophy courses. And then I discovered the art academy, which was at that time 24 hours a day open. So you could, like, when everything else is finished, you could just like at 11 in the night, you just could go in the art academy, and by coincidence you found like a party going on, and did some studio visit, and that was quite fascinating for me. That world kind of. So yeah, I realized I want to do that, where nobody tells you what to do and you are free to define yourself.
Oh, well, that's really cool. What's it like a typical day for you in your art studio? Like when you come in, do you get to work right away? Or do you gotta have a coffee, meditate, read the newspaper? Or do you like come in and go to work right away?
Yeah, that's a good question. I always try to make a typical day, but usually it's like it depends on the work that I'm working on. Sometimes I get a quick coffee in the morning and head directly into a workshop where I do the welding and metal bending, and then it's usually a full day just in the workshop. But other days I start with going through my sketchbooks and collecting some for scanning them into the computer, and then thinking about titles or thinking about stories, how I can connect them. And those are the days I like the most, where I have no deadline, where I just can go through my work and thinking about what's next and thinking about which work I want to produce next. But once I'm in the production mode, then there's usually, like the CEO I told you before, is usually a person that's very strict about the timetable. So I need to get things running. I need to get like the embroidery machine running. I need to produce, and then in the production mode here and I do everything myself.
How did your studies in architecture like shape your creative process today?
Yeah, well, it was only 1 year, but I think it was important for me for the later 5 years of studying fine art, because at that time in Munich there was no plan on how to do your art studies. There was nobody who gave you any instructions, so there was a lot of that were offered, but nothing nothing that you had to do. So for me, I was lucky that in the architecture department you had like deadlines every day, and you needed to be there every day, and sometimes you had to stay the whole night in the workshop, because sometimes the like building a model and like doing those drawings, it just took longer. So yeah, that was quite intense, and I just continued to take that working structure over to the art, and that was good for me, because I had this structure of just being there every day and getting things done, and giving yourself those deadlines, because there were no deadlines, so I had to give those deadlines to myself, and that was very helpful for me, because yeah, I saw other artists that were struggling with this concept of having nothing at all, no deadlines, there were no structure, no checks. Also, nobody checked on you.
Yeah.
Like you could study for 5 years and doing nothing at all.
Oh wow.
But I think there was also a great freedom. Also offered people the possibility to decide that they don't want to be an artist, that they just spend 5 years and have a good time with talking, like thinking about art. But in the end, not everybody has to be an artist.
I saw many of your works mix drawing, painting, and sculpture. How do you decide when you get the idea for a piece of artwork? How do you decide which one fits best for that medium?
Yeah, that's also for me part of an important process, because like I said, I do still a lot of drawings, and usually I collect them all in the computer. So if it's on a napkin or in the sketchbook, I always scan them into the computer, and afterwards I go through them. And sometimes I'm looking for a specific drawing. It could be an embroidery, for example, and then I go through them. And the good thing is that over time, all the drawings they form groups, and I can sometimes take a drawing that is 5 years old to another drawing that I done yesterday, and then it becomes with the process through the computer, through an embroidery machine, it becomes one series. And that's quite fascinating, because when I'm doing those drawings, I never think about them so much. It's quite an intuitive process. But only afterwards, when I try to make groups and try to connect them through a certain story, then they make sense. And that's also the part of the work that takes the most concentration. So I need to be, there need to be a certain quiet time where I can really think about what drawings I take, and for which material also. Yeah. and usually that's also whenever there's an upcoming show, then there's also the necessity of taking the drawings out and producing them.
Oh. And do you keep do you have a large database? Because you mentioned you scan all your drawings. Do you keep everything like organized and you save all your drawings?
Yeah,
That's really cool.
that's just since a year I did own database for my works and also for my drawings, because before that it was also very chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
So I scanned everything in and I made those folders, but then as you know, in sometimes when here in the studio you can see there's a lot of materials, and the same as in the computer, there are a lot of images, and I realized that there's a dedicated space needed only to sort the drawings, only to sort the work, and that's a dedicated database also for my work.
That's really nice. And how do ideas come to you? Do they come to you like in the morning, the nighttime? Do they come to you like when you're working, or is it like very spontaneous for you? Do you like try to find new ideas, or do you let them come to you?
Yeah, there's of course coffee, and when I have a coffee, I have also ideas somehow. I really love this places also where you like, for example, whenever I'm in Italy and I get in those coffee bars, then I have my sketchbook with me, and it's a very productive atmosphere when you hear the cling cling and the machines going and the in and out, and you just entered the bar, and until you arrived at the bartender table, you have already ordered, and 5 seconds later you have the coffee, and this like industrial design of a cafe, it's really inspiring for me, and I like to also to look a lot of on older art also in Italy. Of course, I have a lot of churches and museums and architecture. I like to just walk around, take a coffee, and have my sketchbook with me, and then usually one sketchbook is full very quickly, and then but I don't think about this. I just write down ideas, do drawings, and just collect them, and then later in the studio, usually I don't think on I don't make up anything new. I just go through my old ideas that I already did while traveling, for example. Or usually ideas come while traveling, I would say. Yeah.
Oh wow! And are you always like creating? Like, do you always have your mind always imagining new ideas, or are you able to like relax and be in the moment?
I think I'm a very English, but I'm not the person that relaxation for me is creating, to being able to express something is the best feeling for me. So I try to not force myself to creating, but the feeling to just doing nothing makes me feel bad. So
Me too.
Yeah.
You said it beautifully. I'm like that too. What's the current projects you're working on that, if you don't mind sharing with us?
At the moment, I'm working on a new series of embroideries. I call the series New Heraldics, while the embroidery technique came from flags, or it was very expensive when it was embroidered by hand, and usually those coat of arms and the creatures were on those flags, and I designed like creatures that are kind of playing roles in my own universe, like they're a little bit mythological, but also they could play a part in our contemporary world, and I make this new heraldic kind of that's the idea behind it. At the moment, I also try to make bigger embroideries, because up to now only there was only like the works were quite small, and there was only one creature at a time, and now I want them to interact in one work, and so that the works itself can become bigger also.
Oh wow, that's really cool. If you could do like any project in the world and not have to worry about budget and timing and logistics, do you have anything in mind that would be like a dream project for you?
Sure. there's a long list of those projects. But yeah, let's just pick one very visionary project. Yeah, as I say, I love to travel, and whenever I travel, I go to places of art or to art academies, for example. Yeah, and I somehow got the idea that maybe in the future it's not possible maybe to go by plane anymore, and then we could go with a zeppelin from just one city to another, and depending on the wind, the solar zeppelin could go from Paris to Rome or from Berlin to Moscow. I don't know, yeah, and it always could connect just to a pole that is installed on an art academy, and you could just enter this art zeppelin and have a good conversation on the way traveling and get off wherever you want. And yeah, that could be a visionary way to travel.
That's really cool.
Oh, and I made some drawings about this and some research about how to build this, but well, that's a long process.
Wow.
But that would be if you ask about a project where there's no limitations.
This sounds it. Yeah, this is like the dream project.
Yeah.
And I saw your website shows a lot of complex work. Do you have a favorite medium that you like to do, or do you love all of them?
I mean, the favorite medium for me basically is drawing itself, and yeah, but unfortunately, the drawing books, it's difficult to show them. So for me, yeah, but for me, that's my favorite, to just take a pen and draw in my drawing books.
Oh, nice.
And all the other materials that I'm working on, they are also make me happy because they take the drawings out and they become more vivid and more of our physical reality. So it's not like in the drawing books they're just ideas, but when they're produced they become reality.
Oh wow, that's true. And do you keep, like, when you say you scan like your drawings, do you keep the original or do you like throw them out and you only keep the electronic copy?
Yeah, of course I don't throw my drawing books away, but sometimes it happens that I draw on just a piece of paper that's lying around, so it happens that those papers get lost. So I try to always make a photograph and and collect it.
And when you have an idea for something or a drawing, do you have to draw it and write it down right away, or are you able to remember it much later on?
No, I really have to write down everything right the moment, because maybe the next day it's gone.
It's gone, yeah. And did you ever have a moment where you had an idea, but you didn't write it down or you forgot about it, and then a few weeks later you saw like a different artist use that idea or come up with an idea similar?
Yeah, that's happening but that's a good sign if that's happening to you, because then it means that you're in touch with your time, with the contemporary, because of course there's ideas floating around and many people having the same ideas at the same time. And and I don't know all the other artists around the world, so I'm sure there's people working on exactly the same thing. But that's also, I think it's also important to connect to other people in the arts and then to shape ideas together also.
What advice would you give today that they want to be an artist, or they don't know how to approach art? Like, what's one advice that you wish somebody might have told you?
I would say think big. Is a big that's a good advice that I always thought that you need to go step by step and you need to work a lot to make progress. But in the end, I think especially as an artist, you don't take a piece of paper and design whatever you want to be.
Wow, that's really beautiful. What's one non-art hobby that you have that doesn't involve art that you love to do?
It's a good question because I try to connect them all, but one thing that I try not to do so often, but I really love it, to repair like computers and to take old machines and to repair them. And I have quite a collection of old electronics and old computers and old phones. And that's a hobby kind of. And unfortunately, I don't have time for this so much.
That's really cool. And do you ever get like inspirations from that? Because I mean, I'm not really good like you with the electronics, but I love looking at the motherboard of the computer. It looks like little cells to me. Do you ever get inspired by that and like use those visuals in your work?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, those BlackBerry phones that have a physical keyboard attached to them, and sometimes I take one of those phones and write a text. Whenever I have to write a text, I write it on, not on the computer, but I write it on those BlackBerry phones, because I have the feeling that those phones, they kind of represent a world where like the internet and the information was still in order. And then when I'm writing on this device, I have a feeling that I connect also with a time where this information sphere still made sense.
Wow. I love Blackberries. It's really nice. I wish we still had them. Niko, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's truly been a pleasure hearing about all your creative work, being in your amazing art studio and seeing your work in person. Do you want to share your website and Instagram with us so everybody can check you out and see all your future exhibition and projects and keep track of all your amazing work?
Sure. So my website is just my name, nikoabramidis.eu, Niko with an K.
Perfect.
And my Instagram is Entity Network.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Niko. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Next time I'm in Berlin, I get to see a show, and I wish you all the best. I'd love to hear more about your work, your creative process, and your background. Thank you again.
Thank you for your visit. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you for spending this time with me on Tarik Talk. If this conversation resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe and share the episode. You can follow along on social media for behind-the-scenes moments, guest highlights, and what's coming next.